All right, welcome back to KM6LYW Radio. Hey, this is the show where we talk about amateur radio and with an emphasis on data modes. And of course, we've got an amateur radio here, an ICOM 7300. We've got a Digipi here. This is the ultimate amateur radio data hotspot for your radio. It's need nothing more than a tablet or a phone or a web browser. We're going to use that a little bit today. But so the question here today is, what is HF propagation like? What are some tools you can use? What are some observations you can make to see if it's even worthwhile, even worth your effort to get out of bed in the morning and flip on that radio? Because we all know that the morning's usually best for amateur radio. So let's take a look at some empirical observations that we can make to see if it's to see if propagation's happening today. We're going to do that this time on KM6LYW Radio. All right, welcome back. That's right, really low production value. You know, if I ever get these songs right, they're going to start censoring me, you know, for, I don't know, copyright violations or something. But that was such a poor rendition of AC/DC. I'm probably going to be okay. Let me ditch the guitar. Guitar's gone. So let's see. I've got a radio here. What the first thing I do to see if there's any propagation is to turn on the radio here. And this is an ICOM 705. Let's see if I can make this bigger. And I'm just looking at the waterfall, okay? I am looking at 7.2 megahertz and higher, and I'm noticing these gigantic AM carriers. Now, this is kind of unique to California, maybe unique to the United States. But see all these lines? These are AM carriers. And these are coming in over the Pacific, okay? These are Korea and Japan, Indonesia stations. These are big AM carriers, and they're 7.2 on up. This is their shortwave, and they're just jamming the heck out of the phone band of 40 meters. I like what I see here. You see these big crown formations? That's an AM signal, and I guarantee you it's coming from Japan or something like that. So below 7.2 megahertz, we're good. And now since we're interested in data modes, we don't care. You notice down here, it's a little more settled. We see more traditional single sideband signals. So I like the fact that there's big AM carriers coming over the Pacific here into California. That's a really good indicator that propagation is happening right now. All right, let me make this a little smaller so you can see what's going on. Another thing people use is the HF propagation maps. Now this is a map where there's a lot of transmitters that shoot signals straight up at the sky, and then and they listen to see what comes back, and they keep increasing the frequency, right? And as soon as this frequency stops coming back, they say, well, this is the maximum usable frequency, and that's what you want to know, and that's what these maps represent, is the maximum usable frequency. Now, in my case, in California over here, we're at about 8 megahertz. So the 40 meter band is going to be good for me. That's 7 megahertz. That's cool. We're up to 21 megahertz in South America and South Africa. So, you know, if you want to make a DX contact, kind of look at this map and see if your signal is going to propagate through an area which has a high maximum usable frequency. So there's another thing that everyone sees all the time is the solar terrestrial data. You know, every ham operator who has a website always has a link to this guy on their webpage. I won't even pretend to understand what all of this data means, okay? What I'm looking for is a lot of green numbers. The more green numbers, the better. And they're not always indicative of propagation either. Yeah, you know, they'll give you a good idea, but there's no guarantee that you're going to get propagation based on this data. The big one is a solar flare index, SFI. I think that's what that stands for. If this is green, you're getting propagation. If it's in the 120s, you're getting DX propagation, all right? You're getting out of your nation for sure in intercontinental communication. Right now it's at 96, and I actually made some DX contacts today, or just now before trying this out. The other part of this that I look at is the HF conditions that shows each band. So we got 80 meters, 30 meters, up through 10 meters, and it'll say poor, fair, or good. The more goods, the better. It usually moves like a window, like it'll be at 80, and then it'll, you know, the maximum usable frequency will start coming up, and then 80 will start dropping off. And so it's not like a cumulative group of frequencies. It's usually like a window of frequencies is what I've noticed. You know, 40 will be bad, 15 will be bad, but 30 and 20 meter wavelengths, usually kind of like a hot spot right there. This picture of the sun here, while totally cool, is subjective. The more sunspots you see, the more bright spots you see, usually the better. So that is the solar terrestrial data stuff that I like to use. If you want This is just data that other people collected. What you can do is go over to your Digipi and just turn on FT8. I'm going to do that here. Fire up FT8. We're going to see the Digipi should go into FT8 mode, and then I can use a web browser or phone or tablet. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on, I'm using a web browser in this case, click on WSJTX FT8. And I'm just going to make some transmissions. I'm going to turn the power down to about, I don't know, 25%. Another thing you can do is look at the, let me change it over to 40 meters here. Hopefully you guys can see this. This isn't really an FT8 demo. See my other videos if you want to check out how FT8 works. So I'm using the Digipi here. Somewhere is the waterfall for this guy. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at, let's see, we're on 20 meters. I'm looking for a signal there. That's kind of a mid-range signal. I see a lot of noise around it too. That's the 20-meter signal. There's some noise there. I am getting decodes. That's okay. There's some propagation. If I see a really strong signal there, then I know we're really propagating. Let me maximize this. Let's go over to 40 meters and just take a peek here. That's 7074. I do like the signal there. That's pretty good. There's dozens of signals kind of embedded in there. I'm looking right at the center of the screen. So I like 40 meters today. And then another one I always like to mess with is 30 meters. This is usually a little later in the morning. That's 10 megahertz. Let's take a look at this one. Where there's one guy just blowing all of these out of the water. That looks really strong to me. I really like 30 megahertz today. So this is just looking at WSJTX FT8, just looking at the different frequencies they use in each band, and then kind of making a mental note, which frequency I might want to operate on. Also, enable your transmitter and just call CQ. Just pick a standard power level. I like 28%, so that's 28 watts. And just call CQ for a while and do that on each band. So I'm going to do that on 20, 30, and 40. And we're going to see how far my signal got out. Now, I'm not necessarily interested in making contacts. I just want to get my signal out there. Invariably, people will answer. In fact, I just got a contact with Japan today. So I know there's intercontinental traffic happening, propagation happening. Now, the cool part about using this is you can go out to pskreporter.info, pskreporter.info. Let me just go to that site. And then click on this map display right here. And it's going to take you to a propagation map. And I want you to enter your call sign. Let's scooch this over. At the very top here, I put in KM6LYW and hit go. And sure enough, look at the propagation today. So I'm in California and I'm making it to, this is using FT8 mode, which actually we're doing right now in the background. And I'm making it easily to Japan, Australia, New Zealand. Not so much, the daylight side of the world. I'm not making it to Brazil or Europe. So definitely, this gray stuff's bouncing off this gray line here. We're seeing propagation there. So the blue stuff, that's 40 meters, right? Which we said was propagating pretty well. The green stuff is 30 meters. These are my signals that made it out from California and were received in Australia over here, all of these green signals. And then the yellow stuff is 20 meters. And you can see 20 meters just doesn't make it across the ocean. So, that maximum usable frequency we saw of about 8 megahertz, that's about right. These yellow signals ain't making it across the continents. But I am making it, into one skip zone here in the daylight area into other parts of the United States. Let's see how we're doing. Well, we're still calling CQ on, let's see, 30 meters. I'm going to actually end this transmission, go back over to here. I'm going to do a reload and see if any more green stuff shows up, because that was on 30 meters. And yeah, a few more green signals showed up here in the United States. I didn't see anything new pop up intercontinentally. Is that even a word? So I like the propagation, giving all of the stuff we've looked at so far. So we've made some FT8 transmissions. We've looked at pskreporter.info to see how far we're getting out. And this is only at 28 watts, right? But this is FT8, so that's extremely low signal to noise ratio stuff. We're not going to send a lot of data back and forth. We're not necessarily going to have a phone conversation, given this. But I do like what I see. The other thing that I like is I don't know if you don't have to love Winlink to look at this information, but go out to winlink.org. Okay, winlink.org. And this is how we do email over amateur radio. And I want you to go to Tools. And down here, there's a tab called Prop Map. This is Propagation Map. And these are all of the signals, or all of the connections that were made using Winlink I don't know, like in the last 3 hours or so. And if I'm seeing intercontinental links here, which I am, this is actually really good. Look at all these. There's these three links that made it from Americas to Europe. We are seeing propagation from Alaska to the continental United States. And we're also seeing stuff from California all the way out to Australia. In fact, one of the reasons I made this video is that you'll notice one of these connections is from KM6LYW, and I was able to connect to VK3DPW on 30 meters, and it tells you what frequency was used to make that connection. So I used the Digipi here today, the Digipi device, and I fired up the email client Pat and RDOP, used an RDOP modem. In fact, this will tell you what modem was used too. I think it will. Yeah, it shows an RDOP 20 connection. And I did that this morning, and I was able to send and receive email through Australia, Southern Australia. I don't know. I don't even know what city that is. We can get into New Zealand and stuff too. So this is on 30 meters. And so propagation is actually really good as far as this goes. I mean, I can't always hit Australia, obviously, but this morning I was able to send and receive emails no problem, actually using a wide, bands in the modem protocol. It wasn't just all frequency shift keying. So that's the Winlink map. So these are the things I like to look at to see if there's propagation. Some of these things, I tested myself. I just used the Digipi to start transmitting on different frequencies and, looked at this map, and I really like what I saw. So this would be a good day for radio. As this gray line moves along, conditions are going to change, but right now this is a great time to operate amateur radio. All right, so let me know what you guys use to operate, to know if HF is even working at all today. It's getting better. We're getting further along in the solar cycle. When I started this, it was really bad. All of those numbers were red in that terrestrial chart. But things are increasingly green. So get out there, get some DX contacts going, get your digital modes, get PSK31, get Winlink running, FT8, JS8 call. It's just working really well. Over the last year or so, it really has picked up. So if you want to know more about the Digipi, which is what we're doing for all of this, where is this? Go out to Krager.org/Digipi. Again, this is the ultimate amateur radio data hotspot. You can operate it with your phone or tablet or a PC. It's really simple. You don't need to know Linux or Raspberry Pi stuff. You just download the SD card here. This is available to patrons of KM6LYW Radio. All of the technologies we talk about here are crammed in that little SD card. So if you have a Raspberry Pi and a way to hook it up to your radio, you would be a USB in this case, and we've even got cool circuits to hook it up to, other radios like a dual banders and things like that. If you want to do packet modes, every digital mode you can think of on the Digipi. And we talk about it here on KM6LYW Radio. Lastly, but certainly not least, I have got to thank everyone here who supports this channel. I'm just overwhelmed. I say this every time, and you guys completely overwhelm me. So we've got Fu, Brian, sorry I didn't get your names spelled out there, Brian, Jake, Jason, Michael, Christopher, Steve, William, Simon, Ian, Jim, Brad, Douglas, Don, thank you guys, Carlton, Tony. You guys have been with me the longest here. I really appreciate all of the support. At patreon.com/KM6LYW Radio. That gets you early access to software from KM6LYW Radio. It gets you access to the Digipi SD card image, and it really helps support this channel and motivates me to make these videos. So Buddy, Mark, Claude, Lewis, Eddie, John, W0LED. That's a cool call sign. I like that. KB3AYY. Thank you. Joshua, Aaron. I really have to skip over a lot of you guys. There's just not enough time to read these anymore. I remember thinking, man, this is cool when we got like 20 patrons. This is a cool group of people hanging out here. Hey, we're on Discord too. There's a Digipi channel on Discord. We have a mailing list where we talk about the Digipi stuff and all amateur radio data modes. You guys are giving some tremendous feedback here and really driving the development of this project and all of these technologies. John, Jim, plenty of Johns here. Wolfgang, thank you. All of us are working together here to reimagine amateur radio data modes in an internet age. So I really appreciate it. All the way down to Kyle, Bob, Carson, Chris. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. So let me know how you guys know what the HF propagation is like. And let me know if there's ways you can do it without actually getting out of bed. Can you look on your phone, see if it's even worthwhile to turn on your radio. Get up and turn it on anyway, though. Hey, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. We're well over 1,000 subscribers. Again, completely exceeding my expectations for the channel. I totally appreciate it, guys. This is KM6LYW, and Craig, and I am clear.